Hello, it's Rebecca here from Precious Pages Papercraft, and today's layout is for Mixed Media Frenzy. And this month we have chosen this gorgeous layout by Julie Taylor to scrap lift. Now this layout has been on my scrap lift pile for quite some time, so I put it forward for this month's scrap lift for our hop. So I hope everybody has had an enjoyable time scrap lifting it. I know I did. I've absolutely loved doing this layout. So hopefully everybody else has as well. It's the last Friday of the month, so it means that as well as us usual Mixed Media Frenzy girls, we've invited all of our friends in the group to join us. So in the description box below you will find the links to everybody taking part in today's hop, and it's more than the normal Friday group, so please do work your way through the hop and see what everybody has come up with this month. Now, as I said, I absolutely love this layout by Julie. I'm going to stick pretty close to it, as close as I physically can, because I absolutely love it. Julie's such an inspirational scrapper. Her layouts are always fantastic. Her ideas are just off the scale. If you don't already follow her, I really suggest you do. I will pop her details down the bottom in the description box for her Instagram. Honestly, her layouts are just wow every time. So I'm going to stick really close to this one, and I'm using Vicki Boutin's new Color Study collection, and I've picked out all of the bright bold coloured papers. I'd actually used some of them on a previous layout, and I had a couple of kind of triangle pieces that were left over which were perfect for this, so I've been able to trim some of those down without cutting into any more of the sheet of 12 by 12, so I can hopefully make this collection last as long as possible. So I've got a photo here of my little boy in the bluebell woods, and he's picked a few bluebells, but shush, don't tell anybody, we're not meant to pick them, but he was so excited and I just could not stop him no matter how hard I tried. He was just, "Mummy, look, Mummy, look." So I managed to nab a couple of photos of him with some bluebells in his hand. So there's lots of obviously bluish purple tones in my photo. So I've picked out the blue and purple papers and also a lime green one, because there's lots of green in the background, and where the sun is shining on the grass and the trees, it almost looks sort of a lime green in places. So I thought these three colours would work really well, and I didn't want to have too many colours on this page, so I've just kept it to the three. So I started by obviously cutting these starburst strips of paper, and I've distressed all the edges. Now I'm stapling them together in kind of formation how I want them to sit, just to make it easier when I add my mixed media. I can just lift it off as one piece now, because I will be bringing it back in to check my mixed media, and I don't want to have to keep sort of repositioning each piece individually. So that's why I've stapled those together, and that'll be hidden behind my photo, so that's fine. Now on Julie's layouts, this layout is for Hey Little Magpie, which is a UK scrappy store online. I think she's also on the design team for Bramble Fox, and I think she's used one of the Bramble Fox dies in the background, so going vertically down the centre of her page, and it looks like she's cut it in black. I'm going to use this stencil here and some texture paste. Now it's white texture paste that I've added some black ink to colour it, because I don't actually own any black texture paste. I have my trusty white texture paste, and I've got a black Distress ink re-inker bottle that I always add to make it black, and it's always worked really well, so I've never bothered buying black. So once I'd done that and dried that off camera, I've also stitched through each of my starbursts. Julie's done that on her layout as well, so I love the texture that gives, and I do love a bit of machine stitching on a layout, so I've done that off camera. And I've also cut out a few of the tags. Julie's got loads of layers behind her photo, so I'm going to add some of these tags from the Color Study collection. I've kind of picked ones in colours that would go with my layout. And then I was cutting this strip off one of the pattern papers here to see if that would work, going kind of down the centre of my page over that texture paste. And I went to the trouble of cutting it and distressing it, and then when I laid it on my layout, it covered up a bit more of that texture paste stenciling detail than I wanted it to. So after all the effort of getting it sort of prepared for my layout, it doesn't actually make it onto the page. And it also would have meant bringing in kind of another colour. So I just decided I didn't like the way that looked, covered up too much, so it went. I'm working with a 3x4 inch photo today. It's kind of like my go-to size. I always tend to print 3x4. So I want some coloured paper layers behind it, but I don't really want to cut into any more of my pattern papers. I'm trying to save those. So I've used the cut apart sheet and I've cut out, I think it's 4 of the cut aparts, and I'm just trimming those down, distressing the edges, and I'm going to layer those behind my photo, kind of wonky and offset, so that you can see a little bit of each, around sort of each edge of the photo. And I've cut the middle of this one out because that sort of half a butterfly is gorgeous, and it's going to be wasted on this layout because it will be behind my photo. So I've cut him out to use on another layout rather than waste him. And then I'm just going to stick all of these layers together once I've distressed the edges with double-sided tape, and just kind of build some layers behind my photos there. I'm also distressing the edges of these tags, and I'm going to stick those behind my photo, kind of at angles, just peeking out the top, just so you can see the top of each tag. I love how that looks. I've punched holes in the top, so I will, I think I come back in at the end with some embroidery thread. Gosh, I can't remember now, and it's only been a few days. I'm pretty certain, I should have had the layout in front of me when I did this. I'm certain I put some embroidery threads in different colours through the top of those tags. So moving on to my mixed media now, because that is what Mixed Media Frenzy is all about. I've marked with a pencil just where those starbursts and my photo will sit on the background, so that I know the areas to add my colour. This is a Distress ink in Dusty Concord. It's a gorgeous purple colour. I love this shade. I'm just adding that to my background, and I found that it wasn't going in amongst my texture paste at all. There's no gesso on my page or anything. I haven't bothered with gesso. I quite often say this, but I just don't like the stuff. I don't like the effect it gives my mixed media. I don't like the way it warps my page. I'm much happier with my mixed media when I haven't used gesso, but for some reason it wasn't getting in amongst my texture paste with the packaging technique, because I had to bring in a paintbrush, and just kind of add a bit of colour in amongst that stenciling. And then I'm coming in with a second colour here. This is another Distress ink, and this is Blueprint Sketch, and I'm just adding a bit of that around the edge of the purple, kind of in the same area that Julie's got her mixed media, although I do come out a bit more, and I do add some to the right, whereas I don't think Julie's added a lot to the right hand side of her page, but I couldn't help myself, so I have added some. And then I wanted to bring a little bit of green in, so I've used my Mode Lawn Distress ink and added some green splatters. I want to add a bit more detail to my background, so I'm pulling out some stamps here, and my black stays on ink so that that won't react with any of the ink or sort of water or any dampness that's still on my background. So I'm using stays on ink, and I've got a Kaisercraft stamp that I'm using, and also a butterfly stamp here. I'm just going to add a few of those. I do end up covering most of those up once I start embellishing, but you can still see bits and pieces of the stamping, so you can tell it's there on the background. But I just love the subtle detail it adds to the page and sort of spreads the black out a bit more. I love how this is looking already. Honestly, this is like one of my favourite layouts of Julie's, so I'm so thrilled that we got to scrap lift this one. And I'm just going through the collection here, trying to see what I can bring in the same kind of colour scheme. And I decided on this piece here for my title. Now Julie's used a similar piece, I think probably from an earlier Vicki Boutin collection. It's probably Colour Kaleidoscope looking at it. And I love the way she's got the title going down the side there. It's not often something I do, having my title go vertical. I'm more of a horizontal person, but I loved how it looked on Julie's, so I'm going to go with it. But this piece has just got too much white on it for me, so seems to be a thing at the moment, doesn't it? White backgrounds on ephemera. I know the new Cocoa Vanilla Studio collection, Sunkissed, all the flowers have got a really thick white border. And I think Jen Hadfield's Reaching Out, or the Avenue, no, it might have been the Avenue, had white borders on everything that I had to cut off. So I've done exactly the same thing here, and I've left just a narrow white border, and I just think that looks so much better on this layout. I'm really pleased with how that came out. So the things I'm sticking down there, the vellum sheet in this collection had loads of coloured pie chart circles on with foils, and the kind of background that sits on is a gold foiled grid vellum. Now, rather than wasting that once I'd cut all the circles out, I've punched some circles from it, so I've just added a few of those to my background to bring in just a subtle hint of gold. I've just stuck a few of those down in places. And now I'm getting my sunburst pieces stuck down. I've just added some double-sided tape down the centre of each piece of paper, and then I'm just using my fingers to distress the edges and turn those up. I'm not sure whether Julie possibly stitched hers in place, but I've done my stitching before sticking them down, just to make it easier where I know my mixed media would be. And I'm stitching over texture paste and stuff if I'd done it the other way around, so I stitched mine before sticking them down. And then I've got these gorgeous butterflies here that I've fussy cut from the collection. It's another one of my favourite papers from this collection. I think it's called Pretty Things, and it's purple on one side and butterflies on the other, so I've cut the whole sheet out. So I've got all these butterflies to use. I'm going to add 3 to this layout. Julie's got loads of stars on hers. I'm going to go with butterflies instead. And I want to raise my title up a bit to bring in a bit more dimension, so I've cut some strips of black craft foam. It's adhesive on one side, which is really helpful because it makes it a lot easier to stick it down when doing something like this. So I'm just working my way around the title here, sticking that down, and then I can use glossy accents to stick that to my background, and it just adds a bit more dimension, a bit of a kind of shadow effect on the page, rather than just sticking it flat. I'm not a fan of sticking anything flat normally. I like to have lots of dimension, which means I get through loads of albums because I can't fit as many pages in each album. But it's just the kind of style I love. Just love having loads of texture and dimension on my pages. Same with my butterflies. I never glue those down flat. I only ever glue the centre of kind of like the body, and then I leave the wings flapping. And I've done that with all the layouts with Cocoa Vanilla Studio. A few of their collections have had butterfly papers as well, and I've only ever fussy cut them and just stuck the bodies down and left the wings loose, because it just makes them look more realistic to me, makes them look like they've actually landed on my page. Now I'm just going through the other embellishment packs and things that I've got from this collection. This is the Chipboard Stickers. So I've got a kind of Polaroid camera there that was the perfect colour, so I've stuck that up the top of my photo. Then there's a black strip with gold writings, kind of like gold holographic writing on. I've stuck underneath my photo there. A couple more stickers, got gold arrow and some purple hearts. And those purple hearts have got little gold foil accents on them as well. So it's just here and there I've got subtle hints of gold running through the layout. And as I'm using things from the ephemera pack, I just scribble them off on the back so that I can keep track of what I've got left without having to pull everything out. And on Julie's original layout, she's got 2 arrows, one above and one below her photo. And I thought that was a good idea. I went through the ephemera pack and saw this arrow, and it was in the perfect colours, so I've chopped it in half and made it into 2 arrows, and done the same thing, done one top and bottom. And now I'm just adding a few bits to the side of my photo. That, what I've just put there, I've turned into a tag. It was initially a tag, but I used the top half on another layout, so I've just used the bottom to punch a hole and cut the corners off and make it into another tag. And then I'm going to stick that in the middle and move that camera, the chipboard camera, down to the bottom there. It just sits a bit better. Now I'm just going through again, just seeing if there are any more kind of smaller elements I can bring in, trying to stick to that colour scheme of kind of the blues and the purples and the lime greens. I love this sticker book. It's got about 6 or 8 pages in it of different colours, and some of them are foiled, and I love it. I've pulled out a kind of label word phrase sticker there and just cut it up. It says, what does it say? I can't read it from here. You're a rainbow with a soul full of colour. So I really liked that. And then that black one underneath my photo says, any day spent with you is my favourite day. So I really loved those sentiments. And now I'm just drawing a black border around those arrows just to kind of finish them off and give them kind of a bit of an edge, and then sticking those down on foam pads. Yes, I do. I put some embroidery thread through my tags. I've had a feeling I did, just couldn't remember. So I'm going with black for this layout, just to bring in a bit more of that black. I've got the black texture paste, the black stitching. There's black on my title and in the butterflies, so I thought it would be a nice touch just to have a bit more black. So I thread it through several times just to give it a bit more of a thicker texture, and then just trim it down to make it kind of like stumpy, if you like. Didn't want them too long, so I'm going to trim those down once I've got them all in place. So I'm almost done now, just a couple more finishing touches. I decided to go around the edge of some of the things I've stuck down flat with a black gel pen, just to kind of give them a bit more sort of drama and make them stand out from the background a bit more. So those foil vellum circles that I'd punched out and the word stickers that I'd stuck down flat. And then I'm just finishing off with some black splatters. I think this is that Distress re-inker again in black silk. Just watered it down slightly and just covered my photo to add some splatters. And I think that is me done. And I do, like I said, I absolutely love Julie's original, and I love how my version has come out. It's going to be one of my favourite layouts, I think. I just really love it, and I just love the colours as well, and this collection, everything about this collection I'm loving at the moment. So thank you very much for joining me today. As I did say at the beginning, it is a hop. There is a list in my description box of everybody who's taking part today. Please do head on over and watch their videos as well. I will leave details for Julie's Instagram in my description box below as well, and also a link to the Mixed Media Frenzy Facebook group if you'd like to come over and join us if you're not already a member. So thanks very much again for joining me. I shall leave you with some close-ups.